Hello, welcome to Kelly's Cult Classics. So I haven't made a video in I think over a month, just had a lot going on in my life. I ended an internship, I started a job, I had some family events, so I've been busy and I didn't have time to make a video. But today, I'm making one. So today, instead of doing a specific book, I'm going to do a video where I talk about the tropes that authors use in books that I don't like. And generally when books have these tropes, I end up not liking them. The first book trope that I don't like is love triangles. I detest when books have love triangles to the point that I never read books with love triangles. When I was in high school, I did read several series and books that did have love triangles, and I just formed an intense hatred for them. And this is something I think happens a lot in YA novels, young adult novels, more so than adult novels. And I think that's because maybe when you get to be an adult, you realize how unrealistic love triangles are. But like, I hated them even when I was a teenager, and I really don't think love triangles are something we should be including in a lot of teenage literature. So I just think love triangles are very unrealistic. Most people I know can't even find one person to get involved with, let alone two. So I don't know where all these books are coming up with like, oh, love triangles, and there are these two guys vying for her attention, because it's almost always one girl and two guys. And it's just like, when does this actually happen? And I feel like this trend really got started, or not started, but it really came in full force with Twilight, because, and I don't like that series in general. Twilight paired Edward versus Jacob, and then people were like Team Edward and Team Jacob, and I feel like afterwards authors were like, oh, I want to do that. I want to get that kind of cult following where people, you know, make a Team Edward and a Team Jacob, and, you know, it's like kind of a rivalry in my little book verse. But it's like, that was a bad plot element of the Twilight series, and it definitely shouldn't have been continued into other YA novels and series. And it's especially annoying when it is clear that one of the people in the love triangle, like one of the love interests, is going to be the one that they end up with, and it's clear the other person is just a distraction. And I hate that, because I feel like that's usually always the case, and it's just a waste of my time. Like, why am I going to spend a chapter reading about this other love interest who I know isn't going to make it to the final page, you know? Like, she's obviously going to end up with this other guy, so why am I caring or investing emotional energy in reading about this guy? And whenever there's a love triangle, I just find that like the person who it's clearly not going to end up with the main person, I just find myself not caring about them, like skimming over pages with them and not getting invested in their character. So I feel like love triangles really cheapen at least one of the characters in the love triangle, which is like, why would an author purposely cheapen their own character? And like, if it isn't obvious at the beginning of the love triangle who the main person is going to end up with, then that's also just annoying, because there was one book, I read in high school, it was called Hex Hall, I think. There was two guys, and I hated the guy that she ended up with, because I just thought he was a bad love interest. Like, he didn't seem that much like a winning romantic partner to me, so I really liked the other one. I don't remember his name, but he was like the nicer one, and he ends up, oh, spoiler, he ends up dying, and I'm just like, I just invested like 3 books of rooting for this guy, and he dies, and now she has to end up with the guy I really don't like. And then it made me kind of not like the series, because I'm like, oh, if I had known this from the beginning, I wouldn't have got overly invested in that character who ended up just dying. So there's like no aspects of a love triangle I like. And just going back to the whole, it's unrealistic. It's especially unrealistic for a teenager, because what teenager has that complicated of a love life? Like, I know teenagers can like overcomplicate their love life more than it needs to be, but it's like, really, I didn't know any teenager really in a love triangle, or not like a serious Jacob, Edward, Bella love triangle, because like, let's be real, it's just unrealistic. Holy. So trope number one that I hate: love triangles. So the second trope that I hate is love at first sight, also known as insta-love. The reason I hate this is similar to the reason I hate love triangles, and that is just very unrealistic, and that's not how life works. I have never really met anyone who said, oh, I looked across the room and I just knew they were the love of my life. I've never met anyone. Most people I know who are in a committed relationship was like, oh yeah, I knew this person for a while and we got to talking and we were friends, and then it kind of grew into this relationship, or, you know, we went on some dates and decided we wanted to date. Like, you know, there's more of a story before they decide to get into a committed relationship and decide that they love a person than just they looked at them across the coffee shop or whatever and fell in love. Like, I don't think that actually happens. I don't believe in love at first sight. I believe in lust at first sight, but like, that's very different than love. And again, I think this is a trope that is mainly found in YA novels, and I think like adult romance novels. I think those are the two main contenders for where love at first sight exists. And I feel like it kind of cheapens the love story too, because it's like, what is this love built upon? Like, it's built upon a look, or like, oh, I just felt this chemistry. Like, why? Like, where is this chemistry coming from? And I feel like love at first sight or insta love is just an author's way of ducking around building an actual relationship. It's kind of like an easy out for them in plot building to be like, oh, they're in a relationship because I need them to be in a relationship and I want them to be, and like, let's just skip over where they get to know each other and the reasons for why they would actually enter into a relationship. And so I think it's kind of just bad writing when there's insta love, or the author is just completely delusional and believes this exists in real life. I also think it's, again, a bad thing to have, especially in teenage books, because it just sets up unrealistic standards for like younger people who are, you know, they're, you know, waiting for that love at first sight moment. And it's never gonna happen, because that's not how it works for most people. And books by no means are the only culprit of love at first sight syndrome. Movies also do this a lot, like romantic comedies, and I just wish it would stop, because the books and the movies that have love stories that I actually love the most and adore are the books and the movies that build up to that love. An example of a movie off the top of my head that follows a building up of a relationship is When Harry Met Sally. I found that, like, I used to really love romantic comedies and watch them all the time, and a combination of just getting older and understanding what a healthy relationship looks like, and then also watching When Harry Met Sally, kind of destroyed romantic comedies for me. Because When Harry Met Sally, like, they go literally, I think it's literally decades of just being friends, and like, it's kind of a slow burn to the moment when they finally admit that they have feelings for each other. And I feel, when I watch it, I'm like, this is the most realistic romantic comedy I have ever seen in my life. And it kind of made me more critical of the other romantic comedies I watched. So now I don't like romantic comedies in general, because I'm like, because they usually just have like terrible messages about relationships. Oh, a good book example that actually is also a young adult novel, so shows that not all young adult novels have to do this, is the series Court of Thorns and Roses, I think it is, by Sarah J. Maas, because she doesn't meet like her like true love technically until the second book, because the first book, the guy she's involved in ends up being very abusive, and she, at the beginning of the first book, spoiler, at the beginning of the first book, she ends up like running away from him because the abusive relationship just got too much for her. And it kind of switches who ends up being her love interest, but it's not like an automatic, like she runs away from the first problematic guy right into the arms of the guy she's actually meant to be with. It's so much more slow than that, because she needs to heal. Like, her next love interest also has his own issues, and they're just like, they're kind of like scarred together, and they're like repairing their scars together, and that's really how they grew their love and got to the point. So I thought that series did a really good job of not having insta love in like the love story that ended up being the main love story. The next trope I don't like are books that I feel like nothing happened in them. And this is a personal preference, because I know people who don't mind books that are mainly based on like focus mainly on like relationships, not just romantic relationships, but just relationships between people, or like inner turmoil. I know people who love those books. I'm not one of them, and it really bugs me when I'm reading a book and I get like 3/4 of the way through and I'm like, what has actually happened? Like, I feel like there's been no events, and it's just been like people going from like place to place and talking about their feelings. Like, I call them people books, like, or books that just are about the people's feelings. And I prefer my books to have solid events that are interesting to read about, than just someone sitting being like, yeah, it's kind of difficult. We like each other, but we don't know how to voice our like how we like each other. You know, I don't want to really read that, because I think that's like, I can just experience that in my everyday life. I would like to read about things that I can't experience about in my everyday life. I would like there to be like lessons from the book or emotions from the book I can tie back to my everyday life. But at the end of the day, I would still like my books to have solid events where I can be like, oh yeah, this happened, and then this happened, and this happened. Because there's been a couple times I've read a book and someone's been like, well, what happened in the book? And I'm like, well, they met some people, they talked to some people. I honestly can't tell you what the main like climax of the book was, because I felt like it just never came. Like, if I can't clearly denote where the climax of a book is, I don't like that. Like, I want there to be just a massive event, and there could actually be many like mini events that form like mini climaxes throughout the book. I'm fine with that too. Like, they don't have to be like so ginormous, but I would like there to be like the plot to go like, ooh, a little bit, rather than just, yeah. So, because I think it just gives too much of a monotone feeling to the book, and I get bored. The last trope that I don't like is the chosen one. And again, this is a trope that we most often see in young adult novels. Yeah, I guess I'm just coming for YA novels today. To be honest, I used to love them in high school, and now I'm just kind of like every once in a while there's a good one, but most of them I'm like, these are actual trash. Anyway, so the chosen one. I don't like that trope. And the most obvious example that I'm going to use, only because it's something everyone knows about, is Harry Potter, and how Harry was the chosen one. I just don't like that an author would set their character up to be the chosen one from the beginning, because I feel like that really stunts their character development and the meaning of their character development. Because, like, if you have a character like Harry, who everyone said would be great from the beginning and is the chosen one, then when they develop into that role, it's not a shock. You know, it's like, well, yeah, you said this at the beginning and now they're achieving it, like, big deal. Whereas if you have a character like Neville, who no one said anything about being the chosen one at the beginning, and he ended up growing into being someone who can stand up for his beliefs, for truth, against his friends and enemies, and just ended up being a really great character. His growth, I feel like, meant more to me because he didn't have to grow that way. There was no predestination that he would grow that way, unlike Harry, where there kind of was. And I'm so personally, with the Harry Potter world, I just feel like there's so many side characters that deserved more attention than they got, because Harry was the chosen one and got all kind of the glory. And to be honest, and this is kind of a controversial opinion, but Harry as a character, I hate. Like, I don't like Harry as a character. He's my least favorite character in the Harry Potter series, and he's the main character. I just feel there are so many other characters that are more deserving of the glory that Harry got than Harry. Hermione, who did all the work, you know? Like, Hermione pulled so much weight on the little Harry Potter team and saved Harry's and Ron's lives so many times and helped them figure out so many things. And it's just like, she gets, like, she does get credit, but I feel like she should, like, the series should honestly be about her. Or just all the side characters equally, because like the side characters I think are so much better than Harry. And I think part of the reason I hate Harry so much is because of that chosen one trope that surrounds him, because I'm like, how is this realistic for someone's life? You know, no one is going to be born, or no average person is going to be born and be told that you're the chosen one. No, we all have to like develop ourselves in unexpected ways, and we might have expectations we need to live up to, but like there's no predestination. I don't believe in predestination. I believe, yes, things happen for a reason, but things happen for a reason because people make specific choices to make things happen. And I feel like putting on a chosen one label onto your main character or any character just cheapens their development and makes it less impressive. And I don't really know why an author would willingly choose to do that when you could give your character so much more depth if you start them off literally at the bottom with no expectations and let them naturally grow to be a leader. Like, I'm a firm believer that leaders are made, not born. And I feel like the chosen one is just completely the opposite of that. And it's almost elitist, like that you're born into your specific role in life and you can't grow outside of it. And I don't like elitism. So like the whole chosen one thing just seems a little too elitist for my liking. And honestly, I think we could do away with it. And the books that mainly have this chosen one trope are fantasy novels, obviously, because there's, you know, fantasy novels usually have some grand quests, and so I feel like authors feel obligated to make someone the chosen one because this is such a common trope in fantasy novels. But I think it's not unique anymore because everyone uses it, especially after Harry Potter. The chosen one is not a unique idea. And then also, like, it's just not as valuable as people think it is. So that was just a quick little video about the book tropes that I hate, and I mentioned some cult classics in there. Comment down below if you agree or disagree with any of my likes or dislikes, and like, comment, share the video. I hope you all have a great day. Bye!